Hello, my name is Tim, and I've been gaming for quite a long time now. I started in 1977 with the white box D&D white box. Actually, it was a red box, one with the dragon on the front, and there's a wizard here and a warrior there, and they're just duking it out. So I've been there since then, and I always like gaming. It's probably most of my friends, most everybody I know I've gotten a great time gaming. Um, I played from 1977 till when I was 14 till I was like 22, and then I stopped for about 8 years. Got back into it when I was 30. And the interesting thing about that, even though I started with D&D, um, the game that brought me back into RPGs was not Dungeons and Dragons. It was this. Not exactly this one. This is the deluxe hardbound that I got online. Really good deal on eBay. The one I actually played is the softback, which has basically the same cover. Unfortunately, it's falling apart, which is one of the reasons I got this one online. I wanted something that was better, wasn't falling apart. And yeah, fourth edition champions had a tendency to fall apart after a while. And apparently, this one looks in good condition. But the point of making this video is that I recently went on YouTube and I looked for any kind of review or discussion or anything about Champions. And as near as I can tell, I haven't found anything about Champions online. I haven't found any kind of videos, nobody's saying anything about it, nothing. I mean, people talk superhero games, it comes up in a discussion, but nobody I've seen has ever actually done a review of it. Nobody I've seen has actually done anything about the system and about how cool it is and how long it's been around. And this champion started in 1981, which this is 2016. This system's been around for 35 years, and it's primarily, for the most part, hasn't really changed the system as much as compared to another system we all know, which is gone through lots of iterations and changes so much that one edition, you can't really take a first edition AD&D character and convert them into fourth because the system's so different. You can give them the name and the race and everything, but you can't really do it because so many things have rapidly changed in that system. And I'm not knocking D&D. I've had a lot of fun playing D&D, and this is the one that got it started. It hadn't been for Gygax, it hadn't been for TSR, we probably would be playing war games. Nothing wrong with that. I like war games. But we would probably have this one hobby that we all love. But I couldn't help but notice that there was really nothing talking about the system. And the system started out as this. This is the Champions first edition. I hope yeah, there you go. Having a vinyl and everything to protect it. I got this thing at Gary Con, real cheap. And it's primarily a really good game. And I think the reason why it's really important is at the time it came out, which was in 1981, there have been some other superhero games that come before. In fact, the first super game I played was not Champions, it was actually Villains and Vigilantes. And when I say Villains and Vigilantes, I mean the original first edition, which is impossible to find, that had origin types and you roll for your stats, and you're actually supposed to play yourself, which, yeah, you can do that if you want to, or you can, I can admit, if you look at my whole body, I definitely don't want to see me and my 275-pound self trying to stuff myself into a pair of leotards or spandex to cut out us all. And so that's not something I really want to do. So I don't really see that. But, teach his own. But when I found Champions, when I discovered Champions in 81, it pretty much changed. Like, I never go back to V&V. I'm not going to V&V if you like it. It could be a fun game. But I basically found I like Champions. And there's a couple of reasons I like it. And in this video, I just want to give you a groundwork about what it's about. what the system does, what it can do, what it can't do, what it does well, what it doesn't do very well, because I've been doing this for a while. And I primarily ran the game mainly because nobody seemed to want to run it for whatever reason. It can be a little intimidating, and it's a lot of work. It can be a lot of work that you can put into it, a lot of prep work, but it's a lot of fun work too. And in fact, many fans of the system would tell you that the fun part is making characters. Making characters almost a game in itself. Anyway, so like I said, I really like this game, and what I want to tell you is it's basically an idea what both games are like. The thing that really makes Champions a great game is the character creation. You can pretty much stat anything in Champions in Hero System. I say Champions / Hero System. Champions started off as basically a superhero game, and then they started coming out with things like Fantasy Hero and Star Hero and Mercenary Spies and Private Eyes, and actually I don't think they're Champions. I'm sorry, but Danger International and Pulp Incorporated, and all this, and Justice Incorporated, which is like the Pulp version, and a lot of other things popping up here and there. And it's kind of game that really can be a lot of fun. And what was probably most distinctive about it compared to everything else that was out then, there was basically 3 games that in 1981 were being played mostly. First one was obviously D&D, what have you. And that's pretty much a class level system. You pick your class, you pick your race, you start at first level, or if the GM says, oh, start higher level, you roll your stats, you equip your character, you get ready to go, bam. Everything's pretty much done for you. And that's good because it doesn't take long to make a character, and everything all the work's been done for you, but there's not a lot of flexibility, particularly in the early versions of D&D. You basically did what your character did. If you're a thief, did his thief things, the fighter did his thief things, so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that, and that can be a lot of fun too. And then there was games like Call of Cthulhu, which is basically I'm playing Bob the accountant or Jenny the lawyer, and I have the stats, and my hit points never go up, and it's mostly a point-based system. You get so many points, like percentile, you get so much based on your profession, hobby skills, and so forth. And that's pretty much that. And then there's games like Traveler, which is a character generation, sort of a life path generation thing, where you roll your stats, you pick your planet, and you try to get into the service, and you roll the scene. And it was one the Clash of Travel was the game where you can die in character creation, which can be kind of fun. But I'm not talking about that today. I'm just saying. Then Champions came around, and Champions did something revolutionary. Champions created a system where character creation is completely 100% pull and play. You do not roll up a character in Champions. You do not roll up a character in Hero System. You automatically, you have to build your character from the ground up. That's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is you can create anything you want with a lot more flexibility. You can create a particular character the way you want to. One of the reasons I think that works good for a superhero game is it's a question of balance. One of the problems with randomly generating character, I believe Spoony from SpoonyExperiment.com talked about, like, well, I'm playing, he talked about a horrible character called Pool Boy. His only power is he can breathe underwater. So they call him Pool Boy. And so you get the one guy that has a whole bunch of powers that are really real good, and the one guy that has like enhanced vision and like a gun or something, and that's all he can do. And so you have that problem with the balance, where it's Champions, it's balanced. It's balanced in the sense that your GM says, well, you can play this, you can play that. Everybody starts with the same points. Everybody starts on the same level, and you don't have that problem with it with a random generation system. The other thing that makes it good is you can start creating the character however you want. You can start with the stats, you start with the skills, you start with the powers, you can start any way you want. Some people, one player of mine, actually prefers you start with the disadvantages, because disadvantages are really important. It's not so much what your character can do, it's what he can't do. Spider-Man is interesting because he's Peter Parker, not just because he can swing webs and stick to a wall, which is cool, but if it was all just him fighting villains and swinging around the city, that'd be boring. His Aunt May is always sick, and she has 15 heart attacks yesterday. Mary Jane's always getting into trouble. He's poor because he can't hold a job, or he's always behind on his rent. The whole mentality of the character. Bruce Wayne is tortured by the fact that he failed his mother and father, and he's trying to fight crime. And sometimes he forgets to eat and gets to sleep, and he's obsessed with it. And he's got all these guys like the Joker and Two-Face and everybody trying to kill him. But the point is that that's one thing, and you can start creating a character if you want. Now, on the same token, that can be very intimidating for people. I have had players, particularly people that play a lot of D&D, they're like, can you help me make this character? I can't figure out how to do it. I don't know where to start. And that can be a problem. And so, but there are ways around that. There are ways to handle everything. And for those of you who never heard of this or don't know much about it, Champion started in 1981. Let's see, it's right in here in the book. I believe he gives a little bit of information about how this whole thing got started. Let's see here. Well, the gist of it is one of the designers. Sorry, I should be more prepared. Okay. 207. Okay. Actually, look at the table of contents, because then you find the table of contents. Yeah, basically, a guy named George McDonald was basically in a college lecture, and he was bored. Which I guess when you go to college, the lectures are boring. And he thought it'd be more interesting to create a system. So he started making a system while he was at the thing, and at the lecture, and he started writing up what his hero system was, and then they built upon it, and then they released what I just showed you right here, the original first edition Champions. By the way, my name is Tim. Again, I didn't introduce I apologize. My name is Timothy. Like I said, I've been gaming a long time, and I've done a lot of Champions and a lot of other superhero games. I was really surprised recently when I looked up a website that there are so many of them. I thought there were a few, but for the most part, I like Champions. I've been playing it for years. Well, running it for years because it's too hard to run superhero games. Yeah, I'm not bitter. Anyway, so I'm just going to be coming out with these things about Champions. I'm going to be talking about hopefully come out with a series I'm going to put on YouTube that's going to explain the system a little better, the good and the bad. So to keep it simple, because I gotta give this one video short and I see if I get some reaction from it to keep going. What really makes the game work for me is not just the character creation system, is the system itself. Although it seems intimidating to some people, once you get past the character generation system, the rest of the system is actually pretty easy. It's basically crunch to an extent, but it's a crunch that makes logical sense. The rules make good sense. Now, I should point out, there's a couple things it does well and something it doesn't well. Champions hero system is predominantly, because it started as a superhero game, is not meant to simulate reality. You can make it simulate reality in the rule book, which started like 4th edition and on up. I think 5th edition actually does a better job of it. You can actually get into things like bleeding and hit locations and tracking damage and get very realistic and gritty with it if you want to, and you can get to where everything really makes sense if that's what you want. But it slows down the game because it's not really geared for that. Champions / hero system, I'm going to say Champions because that's how I look at it, is geared towards cinematic role plays, geared for over-the-top stuff. That sounds familiar. There's another game similar to Champions called GURPS, which stands for General Universal Role-Playing System, and that's more realistic from what I understand. I've only played a few games of it. What I understand, GURPS is a lot more grittier and realistic, and that's fine if that's what you want. Some people like that, some people don't. I'm kind of cool with it. I could play a game like that. I'm just more interested in fast and easy play. And it's, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. And you can do it, but you have to, but that's basically how you do it. Another thing it doesn't do Another thing it does better is it does everything pretty good. One thing I'll say, particularly if you're running the game, well, one thing you're going to play the game, you need to know it's a lot better if everybody knows the rules. Um, Champions is one of those games that everybody plays, but nobody wants to learn. Um, and so people tend to play it, but the GM has to do a lot of the work. I haven't ran a campaign in a while because I got a little tired of having to do all the work. If you can get a group together that's smart and intelligent and knows what they're doing and can treat the system with respect and not try to power game too much, and that's another problem with Champions. It is a point-based system and all that entails. You will get your point hordes. You will get your guys that I want to create, God's second cousin twice removed. I want to create like a Galactus level character on 250 points, 350 points. I'm going to find some way to squeeze it all in and put, disadvantage or limitations that will never be used, and just do all this so I can get in here and create this incredibly powerful character. So it needs a lot of power from the GM. The GM has to say, well, no, I'm not going to allow that, or say, nope. Nope. No. And you have to kind of ride her if you got players that do that. And of course, if you have good players, it's not a problem. And it does, and that's one of the pitfalls with it. Now, if you want to understand about, I'll go over the basic system right now. It only uses these type of dice, 6-siders. No D20, no D12, no D4, just D6. And typically the way it works is you basically have to roll 3d6 pretty much anything you do, and you roll 3d6 and you try to roll low. You have basically you roll over skills, you roll over characteristic rolls, you roll over to hit somebody in combat. That's pretty much how it works. Of course, as a GM, you might send the modifiers like, okay, well, you need to roll, you need to pick a lock, but the lock is really good, masterful lock, so you have like a -4 penalty. It means if your lock picking skill is 13 or less normally, you got to knock that thing. You need to make that roll by 9 or less. It's really that simple. The other thing is when you go into combat, everybody has a combat value. In every edition of Champions until you get to 6, combat values are based on your dexterity. And it's basically your dexterity divided by 3, I believe. And so if you have a dex of, let's say you have a dex of 20, and 20 divided by 3 would round up to 7, so you have a 7 combat value. Offensive and defensive. And basically the way it works is you roll to beat your... There are 2 ways to look at it. Some people have different ways of looking at it. It's basically 2 ways to look at this. And I'm going to make the screen a little bit larger. Okay, that's better. There's 2 ways to basically look at this. You can add, you can take your combat value, add 11 to it. In this case, you have a combat value of 7, and you add 11 is 18 or less. And then you subtract the person's DCV from that. So say you're attacking somebody with a DCV of 6, you're going to subtract that from 18 and have a 12 or less to hit. Or you can decide that I have a 7 combat value, offensive combat value, and I have a roll 11 or less, I always hit myself. So I need to hit myself. I need to roll 11 or less to hit myself. So if I get somebody that's got a DCV of 6, then I need a 12 or less to hit that guy. Otherwise, I'm going to spend all day hitting myself. That's basically how that works. And there's modifiers and stuff. There will be modifiers. It is modifierly heavy. And like I said, it can be a little complex. But the important way to make it easier is just have your act together. First off, another thing, the way the combat system works is everybody has a speed. Speed is usually from 1 to 12. You can't go higher than that. and the combat's broken up into 12 into every turn has a 12 seconds of segment. So one turn is 12 seconds, and you have phases within that second. So you're going to have basically, which basically means you're going to have like if you have a speed of 5, you're going to go 5 times in a turn, which I believe is going to be 3, 5, 8, 10, and 12. If you have a speed of 6, it's pretty much every year 2, 6, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So that's basically how that works. And the important thing to do is just to have your act together, know the rules, and it can be a lot of fun. A lot of people have been playing it for years. I'm going to get back later and see if there's any kind of response to this. And if there is, I'll tell you some more about it. I'm going to give you my experiences with it, kind of campaigns I've run, and basically how the system works, break down to how the system works as far as character creation, all that kind of stuff. So you all know what to do. And I'm not getting any, just to let you know, it's just a video because I love the system. And it's one of the few crunchy systems I'll run. And I'm not getting much from Hero Games to do this. It's just a fan-made product. So Hero Games, guys out there, hi, how you doing? Please don't send me. I'm not making any money off of this. But goodbye.